What's going on, you guys? This is my Necrosan from Primal Rage 2. I absolutely goofed on this build and made him way too big. He's awesome. Follow along as I show you how I created my concept and brought it to life through 3D printing and painting. Let's go. So this is my Necrosan build. I was really excited to do this. This guy was a special place in my heart. I really feel like Primal Rage was the for me to get into Monster Hunter. I love monsters, dragons, all that. So this guy was an absolute must. He's really cool. He has everything I love: bones, skeletons, creepiness, dragons. He's awesome. So when I decided to create him, I put a lot of attention to what he looks like in game, with a few of my own twists, of course. But Necrosan's a really cool figure. He's actually one of my favorite creatures concepts ever, and really interesting enough, when I was younger, super ADHD. Well, I'm still super ADHD, but when I was a kid, I happened to get into my dad's vehicle. It was one of those old Jeep Cherokees back in the day, and when I got into it, I was jumping off the walls, bouncing around, driving me crazy, and I looked in the back, behind the back seat, and there was Necrosan in a Target bag. Never forget it. I grabbed it and my dad yelled at me. He was like, "Don't touch that." I was like, "I want it." He said, "No, that's for a kid at church. Put it back, put it back." I was so butthurt. I was contemplating how to get this figure, what I needed to do to get it. I was gonna steal it if I had to, but it turns out my ADHD, I forget about it. And Easter morning, I come downstairs and he's in my Easter basket. Crazy turn of events. It was a rare figure already because Primal Rage 2 never came out, and so for me to have this figure, absolute blast. My brother and I played Primal Rage on the Super Nintendo system, and this was the icing on the cake. Absolutely loved it. So needless to say, as a child, I loved the figure, and now as an adult, I can create my own figure in the way I want it to look, and any way I want it to look. That's the best part about doing this. So when I created him, I made him awesome. So as I went through, I made sure he would fit onto the build plate. And what's funny is he didn't when I wanted the size I wanted. So I actually put him on 3 different printers, you can see. Put him on the 2 smaller ones and then the larger one. And it took forever to print. He was so massive. And then I also had to do the base on another machine that was huge, has a 2 foot by 2 foot base, and it took up the whole base. I have the Necrosan model printed. He's right here. I had a few mess ups, little tiny things, but even with the little spots right there on the top, I can't really utilize that piece. It's also got a huge crack in it. So this guy, no good. Looks cool, no good. Here's the second one. It's perfect, flawless. And then we got all the parts ready to go. Super excited. The base is massive. Like, I guess my hand looks huge. Why do I feel like my hand is so small? Look at this. Okay, so there is the base. So yeah, I'm not sure how big this guy is. I know he's massive. His thing is huge, his hand thing, not the other thing. Super duper excited to see where this goes. I haven't put them together yet, so we got to take off the supports. Once the printing supports are off, I'm going to put him in the primer, and then I'll be able to paint him after he's primed. Let's get this going. I have all the parts here. I'm super excited about this. I'm gonna get all these into the curing chamber. So I created this UV chamber for large parts. I put a huge UV light hanging from the top so that it had consistent light from above, and a UV rope light so consistent light from the sides, and a metallic bottom so it reflects up to help it. We'll see if it really does. And then magnets in the lid so that it can snap closed, so I don't have to worry about any light escaping, especially UV light. And that's super important. I don't want to have UV light reflect in my eyes, and it helps to keep the light contained so it actually cures the pieces faster. I don't know if it really does cure them faster, but it feels like it does, so I'm gonna go with that. I made that because I needed something big for all these large parts, because if you can see, they're massive. And I needed something that I could cure them and do a good job curing, so I made it to where I could put everything in there at once. So after we get done curing, we're gonna put them into the priming room. that thing over there. And once they're primed, I'll go ahead and start painting. Get excited. I chose a very simple primer color, just gray. I wanted to bring out the bones and the undertones of the bones, so it was the best color for that. I just used Rust-Oleum primer. It's cheap, it works amazing, and it's just as good as the Citadel spray cans. So don't waste your time with those. Save a lot of money, and it does a great job. Alright, so check this out. This is the end game of Necrosan. So, not that cool. So we're gonna use this one. Let's go. So I mix all my own colors. I used apple barrel paint, super cheap, super easy to use. It's the 1-to-1 mix ratio of water to paint, and then I just used a special stirring wand for tattoo inks. Super easy, not complex, anybody can do it, and I highly recommend it so you guys save some money. I had to do a base coat of red on all the parts, so that is what I'm going through on all this process. Once I have the red done, I can move on to other colors, but it's very important to make sure you get a good base, otherwise your model looks like crap. And trust me, this was a huge learning curve. The whites and the bones, remember I used the gray to make the whites really pop, and when I use the wash, it'll really bring out that awesome undertone. Then of course black for the horns. Now I go back and I highlight all the areas I need to be really bright, especially for the wash will hit it, it'll make it stand out even more as a white. This was a metallic paint, like a silver metallic, and I really just wanted to make all the parts stand out. The claws I didn't dry brush, I actually painted. Then the tail I dry brushed. You can see it's got that cool gleam, cool shine on the horns as well. And then I was able to go through and get the teeth. Once I had all that done, I could finally go through with the wash. Now this process was not difficult, but it did take a lot of time. It was very time consuming. So I tried to make sure that when I was doing it, I had even layers, really consistent pooling. If you have too much pooling in one area, it looks bad. So you can see here, I was making sure that I got it really nice and thick layered. Also in the skull, same thing. Get it, just douse it, you know, just dip it in the ink. It'll look great. Just dip it in. Don't do that. It won't look good. And then I went ahead and did the same thing on the tail. The other parts had already been finished. Now the body, I just drenched it. I should have used a super soaker. I did not. I used a paintbrush. Took way longer, but the end result looked great. Arms, very easy. Brush a nice coat on. Let it pool in certain areas. It was flat, so I had to choose the areas I want to pool. And same thing with the hands. Just douse it. Make it look wet. We like wet things. The heart, it's tiny details because I knew that I could make it stand out. And the base, I wanted very simple. I didn't want it to take away from the statue, but I wanted it to look great and fit with the theme I had of a dark color with a lot of washes. Just douse it again. I actually did use a super soaker on this. I didn't use a super soaker, but it turned out great. Putting the body together, this was the first time I got to see what Necrosan would look like, and I was blown away. Look how cool that leg is. So once I had the first leg on, I could start building it. It took a lot longer to put these legs and arms on than I'm letting it show. It was a little bit of a learning curve to get them to stay right, but they looked awesome once they're in place. So had them set, got to put the tail on, and I was blown away by the size. Look at how massive this guy is. Wow. The head was an icing on the cake, and it looked amazing. Alright, so I don't know where to begin with Necrosan here. He is the biggest model I've done by far, much larger than the Gauss Harak. I couldn't believe it. I just want to show you guys this really quick. So here's Gauss Harak and Necrosan, and Necrosan just engulfs him. This is insane. I was not expecting to make this big. About 32 inches just in length, which is crazy. And then the width is easily 22 inches, and he is, say, about 18, 19 inches. That is insane. I was not expecting to make Necrosan that big. I am absolutely blown away by his size. It's one of those things where I got super excited about it, started printing him, put the supports on him, and I was like, this is great, it'll be fine, and he's this big. I'm excited about it, but it was a challenge. If you notice the bones and how thin they are going to his shoulders, I had to make them look realistic while holding the pose, and it was a challenge to design them so they're strong enough to support the weight and also make them look cool. If you notice on the bone too, it actually has these segmented parts. The parts are not touching together fully, so it's really cool to look at. You can see the gaps in them. A lot of fun design. But yeah, this guy is awesome. I'm so excited about it. There's a few things I would probably change, such as the muscle striations. I'd make them a lot deeper so they really pop out, but I like how it looked on this model. It made it look very clean and not too overtaking. The model came out great. The bones look awesome. And I want to thank all of you for subscribing and liking my channel. Also for liking my last video with Gossip Harak. I have doubled my subscribers since then, and it has been an absolute pleasure doing these videos. Can't wait to see what the future holds. And also check out my Patreon. Any models I have on this page will be on my Patreon. So make sure you check those out. Right now I have Shiger Magala on there. And then next month is going to be the Goss Harak statue. So that's going to be a really cool one to do as well. I'm going to include a bust of Goss Harak, so you'll have the bust and this model right here. So yeah, go check it out. And again, thank you guys so much. I absolutely had a blast doing this, and love you, bye.
Let's go.